Hey, I think this looks great. What do you guys think?
Dead Souls! Dead Souls! Dead Souls! Dead Souls! Dead Souls! Dead Souls! This is how it goes with Dead Souls!
Greetings, sociopaths. As always, I truly appreciate you stopping by here. Well, Father's Day is coming up, and you know what that means, right? It means the Dad So's Midwest Sociopath Meetup in Springfield, Missouri, the same weekend. You already have your tickets, right? Right? It's going to be an awesome day. We're going to go fabric shopping. We're going to have tons of giveaways. We've got a barbecue buffet lunch. We've got special guests dropping in to let you know how to sew this or that, what fabrics to choose for what projects. If you're into making purses, we've got Lauren Mormino stopping by. I've got a designer for Butterick patterns coming by. Why am I trying to sell you on this? It's awesome. So go to dadsos.com/meetup to get your tickets today, because there's only a handful left. Okay, Father's Day also means bad Father's Day gifts. But we're going to try to solve that today by making Dad a tie. But this isn't just a project for Dad. I personally like a straight necktie on a lady. Annie Hall, anyone? All right, so let's go ahead and get into this project. Right now, the pattern we're using today is from Dana over at Made Every Day. I haven't met Dana yet, hashtag goals, but we're gonna see if this is really as easy to sew as she makes it seem, being the sewing goddess that she is. All right, let's talk about cutting our fabric. All right, now if you're a regular Dad Sews viewer, you know that once I print my pattern out, I trace it out on butcher paper or construction paper that you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot. That way I have a second copy that can get messed up, and it's also nice and thick, and I really dig that. Now, of course, when you first cut it out, it looks a bit like a clown tie, but there's seam allowance to think about and turning it out, so don't be afraid. You're not going to look like a clown wearing this tie. Now, when you cut your top piece of fabric, make sure you flip the pattern upside down when you're cutting the back piece of fabric. That way they line up properly. I forgot to do that on mine, so I ended up wasting some fabric, which is a cardinal sin of sewing. I'm just kidding. Sew, fail, repeat is our motto. Just do it again. You just wasted a little bit of fabric. Now you're going to connect the two pieces of the tie like bias tape, and if you want to know what I'm talking about with bias tape, I will link that video below because it's something you really need to know how to make. But that is how you connect these ties. So we're going to go to that step right now. All right, now you follow the same steps for the front of your tie as well as the backside or the lining of your tie. All right, you lay out your big, massive clown tie piece right here. And we've got our corner cut. And then we take the corner of our smaller piece, and you would think, oh, I'm just gonna lay it there and sew it. And while that actually looks good, it's not gonna look good when you sew it because you'll see the stitching there, and that's just not how you do it. So you take the skinnier end of the tie and you actually flip it upside down, see? And then we line up these corners right here. All right, now, if I put my finger here and I hold it in place and I pull this over, look what it does. Bam! Seamless. All right, yes, you can see the seam because of my baseball, but look, if you have a pattern, you might be able to see where you flip it. If it's a solid piece, you're not even gonna notice. But this isn't gonna be a big deal because it's gonna be hidden in your knot and it's all gonna be fine. So go ahead and pin this in place just like that, and let's move over to the sewing machine. All right, as always, don't forget to backstitch once you start sewing because this is going to be, you know, it's a connection point for your tie, so you don't want it falling apart. And like I always say, if you're sewing something for kids, backstitch everything. All right, I am gonna make one of these for my son. I think it's gonna look super cool. All right, we backstitch there. And I love that not only can I hit the cutting button on my Juki up here, I can also hit the back of my pedal if I set it up that way. Right now it's set to backstitch, which is a really cool feature. All right, once we pull our pins out and we flip it over, you see, there we go. It's perfect. It's almost seamless. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the lining. I'll be right back and we'll start putting together our tie. All right, so we're gonna start pinning our tie together. We're gonna make sure we put our fabric right sides together. All right, that's the sides you're gonna see together. And let's see how good a job I did on the cutting. That side is great. That side is close to great. All right, so that's good. All right, we just want to make sure everything lines up well. If it doesn't, just take your trusty Fisker shears here and go ahead and trim that up. All right, I think that's all we needed there. And then go ahead and start popping some pins in. Now we're just going to pin the ends of our tie for now, okay? This is going to make not only a great Father's Day gift, but a great little gift so I can be matchy-match with my sons. I think that's gonna look really cool. I actually dig the matchy-match parenting look. I know some people it drives them crazy, but I'm matchy-match all the way. I don't match my son and his facial features because he's adopted, so that's how we match. It's by doing some matchy-match that way. All right, be sure to slide your tie all the way. Just stuck myself with a pin. Slide it all the way to make sure everything is straight and proper. You can go ahead and press this now if you'd like. But once you have it all the way out, then match up those other ends. Now this is a great tip that Dana from Made Every Day makes. If your tie does not match, which mine does not, you want to be sure and trim that up. So I'm just going to fold this like so. That way it's not hanging off of my table. And then I'm going to flip this so I can see the bigger end. See? See how it doesn't match? Because Dad sews, but Dad doesn't cut. It's not called Dad cut. All right, so we're going to make sure we do that. And then we'll trim this end as well. Man, I do not know how I got it that far off. Go ahead and cut both of them. That way they will match up perfectly. Okay, so there we go. Now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and pin that, and let's move over to the sewing machine. All right, once you're at the sewing machine, just go ahead and drop that foot. Make sure you're doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You know, there's numbers right here on the Juki that make that easy, and there's also lines on the foot to make it easy to follow. Be sure to backstitch, okay? I'm gonna use my pedal to do it. Oh, how cool is that? All right, now let's go ahead and just sew very carefully. If you want to pull your pins, definitely do that, but if you're going as slow as you should be on this step, you can just go right over it. All right, when you get to the end, I want you to go ahead and raise your foot, leave your needle down, okay? And raise your foot, spin this, drop your foot back down, and then continue to sew. Go nice and easy and slow. Make sure you're doing a nice, good job. And I recommend doing the back end, the tucked end of the tie first. That way you can go ahead and make your mistakes, see what you did wrong. People aren't going to see that as much. And then go ahead and do the front side of the tie after you've looked at it. This looks pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and sew the front end of the tie now. And then I'm going to be right back with you for the next step. All right, let's take our trusty sharp Fisker shears here and let's go ahead and tidy up this corner, okay? We're gonna want it to point out as cleanly as possible. So we wanna give that a nice sharp point. Now you could use your pinking shears with this, sure, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go as close as I can to my seam without catching my seam. I think that looks like a nice sharp point. You want to make sure you do this right because this is the part that's going to show on your tie. If you look right here, I got a really, really good turn on that with the machine. So That's going to help us out the most. Less what I'm trimming away and more how I actually sewed. I'm going to go ahead and trim this one and we'll go on to the next step. All right, on the back of a tie, there's a little loop on the front piece of tie that you can stick the tail of the tie into. Now you can use any kind of fabric you want to make that loop, but I'm going to take a little piece of fabric that I'm using for the liner and I'm going to make my own loop out of that, kind of tie it in together. So all I did was cut a piece out there. I'm going to fold it in half, just like this, and I'm going to run and make a little tube on my machine. It doesn't have to be super pretty. Just go ahead and make sure you backstitch for strength and durability, and then go ahead and just roll right through that. I just think this adds a little bit of flavor to the tie and kind of ties everything in together, and you know, it's another way of seeing the other piece of fabric that you have. All right, so we're just gonna trim that so it's less bulky. All right, there we go. All right, and then you're gonna wanna turn this inside out and then we'll move on to putting it in the tie. All right, now we're going to lay out our tie and then we're going to fold it in half. That's right, fold it in half. Make sure everything's nice and even. And this would be a great time to press your tie. So you can press it before you fold, you can press it after the fold. These are all good ideas. All right, so we're gonna take the loop that we made just a minute ago and we're going to fold it in half, just like this. Got a ratty end on there, so I'm gonna make sure it sticks out a little bit. Go about 6 inches up from your tie, and then go ahead and stick this loop right inside of there. I'm gonna leave a little hanging out just because my loop's a little ratty. All right, let's go ahead and pin this all the way down, make sure everything's straight, and let's go ahead and start sewing. All right, this is so exciting. Let's just do a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down this tie, okay? Now, I usually pull out my pins when I'm sewing. I sewed over some earlier, and I do recommend that. If you're going slow, very slow, you can sew over a couple pins. You're probably gonna be fine. But definitely pull out your pins if you are able to do so. Just keeps your needle from accidentally hitting one, being bent, you know, all kinds of things can happen. So just be sure everything stays lined up and go ahead and sew slow and carefully. All right, so now all we have to do is turn our tie out. So just kind of start pushing it in on itself. Now you might know a little trick about using a safety pin to do that, or you might just do it my way, which is shove, 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 shove. But either way you do it, you got to turn that tie inside out. It's like getting a snake to come through. There's our loop, which looks super cool. I'm happy with that. All right. Just kind of tend to stuff. That's my way. Now, if you're too rough, you can rip it. But sometimes I do the twirl method. Again, this is the first time I've sewn this tie because at Dad Sews, I always sew everything for the first time on camera in front of you. That way, if there are any mistakes, I can show you and we're honest about it with each other. We can have a cry and then we can talk about our motto, which is sow, fail, repeat. What do you think of that? My helicopter move. Now, if you're using delicate fabrics, that's not what you want to do. You don't want to be doing that with a silk scarf. All right, this is taking me longer than I thought. I'm going to cut ahead to when this is pulled out. Well, the tie's been pressed and color me impressed. I love this tie. Now, in full Dad Sews sew, fail, repeat disclosure, I did screw up an area of this tie and I'm going to show you. Right here, I had to tack in a little bit of the tie because when I was trying to keep a really tight seam allowance, I didn't have enough of the fabric underneath pinned together. So it ended up not getting sewn properly. And when I pulled it out, it definitely popped loose. So make sure you've got everything pinned perfectly. But honestly, nobody's going to see that other than me, because this is for me. But if you're making these to sell, you definitely want to make sure everything is tight and professional. But I really like this insert right here that shows from the other fabric. Here, I'll show you right here. There's another little bit. And here is the tie tack or tie tab. Now, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and sew right here with a needle and thread right to the back of your tie. Don't get the front, and that way it can tack down. Another idea that I think would be great would be to use some fusible iron-on material and put that on the back and then just kind of press that into the tie. I think that would hold just as well. All right, let's see how it looks. Hey, I think this looks great. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. You know, people used to get dressed up in a suit and tie to go to the ball game, and I'm going to be hitting some ball fields on my way to the Dad Sews Midwest meetup in June. Again, get your tickets. So if you catch me at a ball game, let me know how you think my tie looks, because I'm going to be wearing this bad boy. All right, be sure to check out our other videos at the end of this one. Be sure to give a like and please subscribe. You know, when we hit another 1,000 subscribers, we give away a free Juki sewing machine, and we only have 99 subscribers to go until we give one of those bad boys out. All right, thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon with another episode of Dad Sews. Hey, I hope you liked that video. Be sure to click right here to subscribe, and you'll be instantly entered to win a free sewing machine. How cool is that? And click right here for another great video. Hey, it may be better than this one. Go on, I'll wait. Seriously, I have all day.